This is straight up nuts, y'all. Somehow, some way, now it's become racist to test kids on their reading and mathematics abilities in Oregon schools. I cannot make this up. See for yourselves.
Some of the misinformation is presented with artistic quality, mental acrobatics, such that it might be tempting to believe these alternative facts. If only they weren't automatically discredited by the myopic analysis and bigotry that follows them. Rhetoric about cultural and social norms being the underlying reason for underperformance on assessments by systemically marginalized students, reminiscent, as you all might know, of racial superiority arguments, an extra ori there, arguments for early national history.
For the next 5 years, high school students in Oregon will not need to perform proficiency tests showing mastery of reading, writing, or math in order to graduate. And this comes as the Oregon Board of Education unanimously voted to extend a pause on the graduation requirement yesterday until 2028. They're citing inefficiency and inequity. Joelle Jones going beyond the headlines tonight to find out what this pause will mean for students.
This is a controversial decision and one that's facing a lot of pushback. While some say the decision will lower state standards and cheapen an Oregon diploma, the Oregon Department of Education tells me this policy simply didn't work and disproportionately harmed students of color. For the next 5 years, high school students in Oregon will not be forced to take an assessment of essential skills, proving they've mastered math, reading, or writing. This comes as the Oregon Board of Education unanimously voted yesterday to extend a pause suspending the proficiency requirement in order to graduate. Designed to ensure students are prepared post-graduation, the policy was initially paused by Governor Kate Brown back in 2020 amid the pandemic.
What we found is that it simply wasn't working. We looked at several post-secondary outcomes, and there were no changes in those data pre and post implementation of this policy. So it wasn't having the intended impact.
Dan Farley with the Oregon Department of Education tells us the pause removes the harms caused by the policy. As an ODE report submitted to the Senate Committee on Education last year found, quote, the assessment of essential skills requirement was implemented inequitably and did not ensure anticipated benefits for students in their preparation for post-secondary transition.
The report brought to light several impacts on students, primarily students of color, students with IEPs, and students who are English learners, who, because of the requirement, were being excluded from learning opportunities at the high school level because they were working on trying to pass a test.
But the pause continues to see pushback from community members who claim the decision could lower education standards in the state, with former governor candidate Christine Drazen launching a campaign and garnering more than 1,400 public comments in opposition. Stating in part today, quote, it's disappointing that these unelected bureaucrats decided to ignore public comment and continue down a path that neglects their responsibility to help students meet high standards. Still, state education leaders say despite the decision, most of Oregon's graduation requirements remain in place and are still as challenging as any other state.
Our state assessments are still in place. Families and parents for students who take our grade 11 assessments are getting the same information that they ever got from their schools. All we have eliminated is a specific and inappropriate use of that assessment that wasn't doing what it was designed to do.
Don't you just love when white folks tell black folks how offended they should feel about something? It seems like almost every single time it's these non-minorities chiming in with their 1 cent about why minorities should feel like victims when it comes to these scenarios. Quick question for my audience that has more melanin content than I do. Do you believe that testing a child's comprehension of fundamental skills like reading and math is somehow discrimination toward them? It doesn't make any sense. Please let me know down in the comments section, because I'm one of those people that firmly believe and know it to be the case that God created one race, the human race. We all bleed the same color red, and I'm going to go along with this labeling today just so that we can properly address some things. You want to talk about an extreme disservice to the children of American taxpayers? This right here is it. This is the real systemic racism. And I've been saying it for a long time that most of these schools are just overpaid indoctrination daycare centers. Curriculums are becoming nothing more than liberal propaganda with no sort of valuable substance, not whatsoever. And these kids are out here getting honor roll status for just showing up and participating. And this is where many parts of our society have backslid to. Like, you get an A and you get an A and you get an A plus for looking this way, even though God beautifully created you in your mother's womb and you had no control over that fact whatsoever. Or, hey, you get extra credit for identifying as this gender. And goodness gracious, it's ridiculous out here in these institutional streets. It's crazy. And only in 2023 could someone actually twist wanting kids to apply themselves into a racial narrative somehow. Like, where? Seriously, people are so misguided and focused on dividing us based on skin color, again, that helping the youth develop learning habits is a bad thing now. They want to take us back in history because division sells and they're lost and misconstrued. And I don't know all their reasoning behind this, but it's evil. It ain't right. And can you say millstone? Great millstone. These teachers have been leading people away from Jesus for a long time now. And you know what happens to them if you don't dive into that Bible. But these people got everything cattywampus, it seems like. And I really do pray that they turn it around. And I'm not even saying that boys and girls need to go to college someday. I didn't graduate the 2-year community school that I went to, and I think I turned out just fine. But a huge part of that was because I learned how to read at a young age and was tested on it. So now I have the ability to go out and research and find information that I deem is appropriate for myself to better enhance my knowledge base. And not only that, but reading in itself just makes for better critical thinking and problem solving and just all around vocabulary and communication. It is vital that kids sculpt these skills from a very young age. And I think the real discrimination is anyone who passes any student, not just black, not just Puerto Rican, Asian, Mexican, none of that. Human beings. If you live in America, you're an American. Passing kids through high school without teaching them what they need to function in our society, that's discrimination. That is evil. And they should know how to fill out a resume. They should know how to keep track of how much money they do or don't have in the bank and how to budget and do that stuff accordingly. And if they live in America as a U.S. citizen and they don't have accurate knowledge of our country's history or laws, then they shouldn't be allowed to vote. It's as simple as that. And if you talk to the average voter on the streets nowadays, you know what you get. And it's not a whole lot.
What's 9 plus 9 plus 9? Okay. What's 9 plus 9 plus 9?
9 plus 9 plus 9? 21?
Yes. Okay. What's 7 plus 7 plus 7?
Is that also 21?
Yeah, they're both 21.
Yeah.
How many moons does the Earth have?
6.
Yes. Do you know how many people are in the USA?
3 billion?
Yes. Do you know who fought in the Civil War?
Who fought in the Civil War?
Yeah.
It was us against the Soviets.
Yes. Do you know how many states there are?
There's a star for each state, so 51.
Yes. How many people are on Earth? Around how many, if you had to guess?
I don't know, 200 trillion, something like that.
How many states make up the United States? Around how many?
13.
Yes. Do you know how many stars are on the U.S. flag?
50.
Do you know what the stars stand for?
No.
Take a guess.
The number of laws, I have no. I was right?
Yes. You just guessed?
Yeah.
So these teachers and school board members and people that are on staff and on the payroll, they need to wake up, they need to get a grip, and they need to do the job that they're paid to do. Because right now, all I see is a bunch of babysitters, dangerous ones at that, because they're purposely leading these kids into this delusional reality that is going to backfire in their face when they get out into the real world and have zero applicable skills. And they were already way off track the past 60 or 70 years or more when Christ got taken out of those four walls. But at least they were giving kids some sort of knowledge that they could then add some sort of value to society. Because could you imagine the way things are going if your doctor or your lawyer or your airplane pilot, if they were a product of these policies? Yeah, I didn't actually take any tests to know for certain if I'm accurately diagnosing your systems, or a lawyer saying, I don't know the laws, or a pilot saying, well, I may be able to get from A to B without crashing, but I'm not quite certain. Could you imagine? I can, because that's where we're headed if more states keep hopping on board this everything is racist sort of facade. And this whole idea of dumbing down education based on melanin content might be the most racist law that I've ever seen in my lifetime. I would be absolutely embarrassed if I was a teacher in Oregon or any of these states that align with this foolishness. And beyond that, as a parent, if you had a minority child, you should take this as an automatic insult and you should be ticked off, because they're concluding somehow that because your child has a darker complexion, they're incapable of learning. Huh? Hello, some of the smartest people to ever walk the face of this earth possess way more than the 20% African that I have. You got people like Frederick Douglass, Ben Carsons of the world that are still alive, Booker T. Washington, Harriet Tubman, Thurgood Marshall, Maya Angelou. I mean, I could go on for days, but my point is all kids, no matter what they look like on the exterior, unless they're medically diagnosed by a professional with some sort of learning disability, unless that's the case, then they possess the competence and potential to learn. And if they need a little extra help, our government is more than happy to spend some money. So why don't they dedicate, matter of fact, it starts with the voters. Why don't you vote for leaders in your area that are willing to dedicate tutors and resources to giving your child the help and care that they need, not just passing them on through and tossing them out into the world and say, hey, fend for yourselves. Good luck. Best wishes. Godspeed. That's not the way it goes. So stop giving these teacher roles to extremely radical propaganda peddlers that have no care in the world but to infiltrate your child's brain with their nonsense, sinful ways of thinking of lawlessness, and instead put people in those roles that genuinely love and want your child to flourish and thrive in the world someday. That's the solution. And it's clear as day that we're living in a world now that they don't want to hear the truth. So when you have people like me and bold parents at these school board meetings and other people on YouTube, and that you see standing up and speaking the truth in love, I mean, they don't want to hear that. People nowadays just lean into their own lawlessness and their own lusts and desires and promote all these false agendas, and they're deterring our children away from the truth. And we cannot allow that to happen. They're going to want to silence us. They're not going to want us to be a part of this culture. They want to cancel us, but that's when you have to hold the line, keep fighting back, and not so that you can just win an argument of morality. That's not even the goal here. The goal here is to save our children so that they have a chance when they get out into the real world, because life, we all know it, is hard no matter what. You're always going to have stumbling blocks and tribulations and situations that you're going to face. But if you don't possess the basics, life is going to be darn near impossible. So whenever you can, speak out against this woke, fake oppression agenda. Homeschool your kids if possible. I should have touched on that far earlier, but definitely, if that's feasible for you, homeschool them yourself, or get somebody that you know and trust that's based in godly biblical principles with a moral compass aligned with righteousness. Get them to teach your kids what you know they need to learn. And my goodness, y'all, pray for discernment and true wisdom to make its way into these classrooms, because good is not evil and evil is not good. Do not be deceived by these wolves in sheep's clothing, and do not buy into this fake racial rhetoric. Like, my goodness, y'all, no matter where these people are at on their journey, I still love them. I still pray for them, and God help us all. But what do y'all think about all this? I know it was a lot to digest, kind of, sort of, but y'all like when I go on these tangents. At least some of you do. And if you don't, this probably isn't the channel for you. But either way, I would love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. Let's keep this conversation rolling. Don't forget to hit that like button down below. Subscribe if you're not already. Ring that notification bell so you get notified anytime I post a new video. If you like what I'm doing over here and you want to show a little extra love and support, make sure you check out our website down below in the description section. That way you can get awesome shirts like you see me wearing in every single video, made by my beautiful wife. This design is the Isaiah 49 verse 25 one. We've got all different options, sizes, colors, variations that you or someone you know will love. Petite, extra small sizes to big and hefty. Make sure you go check those out. Outside of that, you can always donate to the channel by joining the Gibson family here on YouTube or on Patreon, or buy me a coffee. All those links are down below as always. By no means do you have to do any of that. Just showing up and listening to my freckle face rant at you for a few minutes, I'm greatly appreciative. I love y'all. I'll be praying for you. Until next time, Godspeed. I'm gone.